The ninth presenter is Tsuchiya Mana. Her choice is Theme 3. Please start.
One day, in a science class, we are studying about springs. And the teacher told about elastic energy and the Hooke's law. But suddenly, one student said, "Hey, it's the same as math." And the teacher called the math teacher, and she started teaching instead. Of course, as a math teacher, she focused on calculation and the formula. So, in this class, we studied about the same topic from science perspective and math perspective. It was super exciting. That's why I remember it clearly. And this experience made me wonder, okay, when different subjects have similar topics, why don't you combine them? That way, we can remove the overlaps and study more efficiently. The same goes for all subjects. Now, in most schools, we study each subject separately. But I believe there should be some connections between them. So, what if they are taught across the boundaries? And what if we can find the connections with our daily life as well? Actually, I'm not the only one who thinks this way. Hence, there is an expression for that. This idea is called Transdisciplinary Education. And this education model has been encouraged for such a long time, but in reality, due to its costing quite a lot of time and in-depth thoughts, most schools haven't achieved it yet. But according to Dobozy and Dalziel, the transdisciplinary framework seems to be most helpful when it includes a curriculum planning tool. So that's why I created this app, SMART. This app promotes high school teachers' collaboration in order to achieve transdisciplinary education. SMART has two outstanding features: subject integration and material recommendation. So let me explain about subject integration first. So let's say you are a geography teacher teaching class 1. And this is a part of the annual schedule that you can get from the textbook publishing company. By analyzing this schedule and the textbook, what SMART does is to collect keywords. More specifically, SMART finds out how many times a certain word appears in which section of which unit. For example, when Unit 1, Section 3 is about environmental issues in Japan, the words like Japan, waste, environmental, and pollution appear a lot. This process is done to all the subjects. Now, when you have a section about culture, SMART may suggest, how about combining this section with this history one and the art one? This suggestion is made based on the keywords that SMART collects and the result of material searching, which I'll explain later. And once SMART finds the connections like this, it offers an integrated schedule. For example, say you teach geography on Monday 3rd period, Wednesday 2nd period, and Thursday 5th period. And your co-teachers have schedules like this. Now, if 3 of your schedules are combined for a week, starting from Monday, the order of teaching should be like this, right? And then, SMART converts this schedule into this vertical one. So, what's the strong point about this schedule? Well, I know that some applications have a co-teacher system, which is supposed to be used for teachers to work together. And then with this system, they can see each other's lesson plans. But the problem is, they don't visit you that often. In other words, they don't see your schedule until they try to see it. On the other hand, this schedule is shared with all the teachers concerned, and then you can fit in just like you are doing right now. You don't have to visit the other's lesson plans every time. Instead, you can check them while making your own schedule. And also, referring to the others, you can change or tweak your lesson plans right away. For example, you notice that before your class, your students are learning about how to make natural dyes from plants. So you might feel like changing this part into a more related one. That way, you can help students more to find the connections between these subjects. Okay, then, how does SMART recommend materials? As I said before, SMART collects keywords from each subject. And then using these keywords, SMART searches materials online and suggests a suitable one for your integrated lesson plans. So, let me give you an example. This is an actual article that you can find on the internet, and on the right is the actual data that I got. This time, I found this article and collected data, which made me exhausted. But, of course, SMART will do it instead of us. And in addition to this process, SMART checks which subject each of these words belong to, and based on the result, it chooses the section to be integrated. And then it recommends this kind of website to help that collaboration. So, how can teachers use them? Well, it depends on teachers. Of course, they can use them in class as teaching materials. But today, I'd like to suggest 2 examples to make efficient use of them. My first suggestion is to use them to create a comprehensive exam. Instead of having exams separately, how about making a test that covers all the subjects? That way, you can divide tasks such as making and grading exams with the other teachers, and also, the students don't need to take that many exams. So, in short, it can reduce the burden on both teachers and students. The other suggestion is to assign an integrated paper or project. How about letting students make their own costumes? As a geography teacher, you can ask them how their choice of fabric is related to the climate. The art teacher teaches them how to cut or dye clothes. And the history teacher may let them write a hypothetical story about how their costumes are developed. And it would be ideal if you could schedule a class that all of you can join so that students can get advice from different teachers from different disciplines at the same time, which helps them connect these subjects more easily. Either way, students are required to think beyond the subject boundaries, which is the first step to transdisciplinary education. According to the organization called International School Parents, this kind of experience cultivates students' deeper conceptual understanding, as it allows them to see the same things from different perspectives. And by understanding deeply, the problem-solving skills are promoted. Combining their knowledge, they can try to solve more complicated problems. And once they did it, their sense of accomplishment increases their intrinsic motivation and makes them feel like studying more. So, this virtuous circle makes transdisciplinary education sustainable. But, in the first place, how should I get users? Well, first, I'd ask some high schools which are already trying subject integration to use this app and give me some feedback. And also, the government to further promote the idea of transdisciplinary education, recommending SMART. And after that, I'd market to all the high schools in Japan. Now, the world we live in, it's so messy and chaotic, with tons of unsolved complicated problems. So that's why we have the concept of subject, in order to understand things one by one, focusing on one perspective at a time. It has been successful so far. But just let you know, subjects are just a collection of the same perspectives of this world. Now what we need is to rebuild a connection to address various kinds of issues in this complexity, which many of us are aware of. But I strongly believe that we can reach this goal by using SMART in education. With this great application, let's achieve transdisciplinary education together. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. And now it's time for our questions from the judges.
Thank you for your presentation. And probably many educators here really think a very good system is your presentation is. But probably this kind of education system is called a curriculum management, and also we can call it STEAM education, you know. So to tell the truth, I am the member of the STEAM education last year, and I developed a dietary education and disaster prevention education program, and make digital content and read into the METI's program, and all materials is already published in the website. Probably that's a very same concept, I feel. So, but I have a trouble to extend this kind of education now. So my question is how to change the teacher's mind to proceed this program, because I'm a geography teacher, so I teach only geography for following this textbook. That's kind of that. So this is a very difficult issue. So how to prevent, how to change the teacher's teaching mind? Do you have any idea?
Thank you for the question. So transdisciplinary education is really encouraged. And then also the Ministry of Education is actually encouraging the similar things. It is called cross-curricular classroom. So definitely, since it's encouraged, so that is the problem, that teachers have to change their mind. So I know that some teachers don't like working with group of teachers or work with the other teachers. But as I mentioned in the very first part of the presentation, there are some inefficient things still remains in this education system, and also students sometimes have a trouble that we have to learn about the same topic again and again. So in terms of that, I believe that teachers have to collaborate with each other. So I understand how they are feeling, but not only for them, but for us as students or for our future, the Japan's future. I hope that they could understand how I feel like.
Okay, understood. Probably teachers have too many tasks to do. Did other presenters say same things, kind of things? But probably your application may help the teachers' workload. So please, I recommended to extend that kind of aspect to this plan, make it come true. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for the question.
Thank you very much for your very stimulating presentation. And I am no expert on science and technology or engineering, nor am I an expert on information technology. But I wonder what you think about the future of Japanese education. For example, going beyond high school education to university education. There has been this tradition of dividing the world into two. In Japanese, bunkake and rikake. Humanities, law, politics, and so forth on the one hand, and science and engineering on the other. I think we are coming to a point where we should remove the barriers between the two schools of thought. I feel this very strongly. So, what do you think is the implication of your suggestion to the future of Japanese education, especially at the university level?
Thank you for the question. So now in high schools, most of the Japanese high schools have art course and the science course. That's right. But like when you see the foreign schools, they usually like at least I know that American high schools and the universities don't have that kind of barriers. So I believe that the subject from art and the subject from science can be combined together. For example, physics and history can be combined because in physics, we need to learn about many formula, and then we not learn, but like sometimes we have to memorize the formula without like any reason or background. But there should be some background in the formula, how the formula was developed. So in this case, history teacher may teach history teacher may teach how the formula was developed or what made scientists create that kind of formula. So in this case, I believe that any kinds of subject can be integrated, and then gradually the barrier between art and science will disappear, I believe.
Do you feel that liberal arts education, as we call it in English, kyoyo-kate in Japanese, is important in that context, in making sure that people don't start specializing too early at university?
Sorry, could you...
For example, when you enter a Japanese university, it's often the case that you start specializing in engineering or law, whatever, at a relatively early stage, without learning about philosophy or literature or geography or whatever. Do you think there is some merit in those students widening their scope, at least in the initial stage of their university education, to be able to be exposed to different disciplines?
Thank you for the question. I believe that. So now, as you mentioned, liberal arts education is implemented in many universities, and then it's kind of similar to the connect subject integration, right? So, but subject integration is also, I believe that subject integration is also required in high schools, and then many universities are implementing liberal arts education, but I would like to do almost the same things in high schools, and then like many students lose the connections between subjects in high school because we study topics deeply.
Thank you very much. I hope you'll be able to succeed the Ministry of Education in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the questions.
Thank you, judges. And now we have one question from the audience. The question is this idea not increasing teachers' burdens? In terms of new constructional integration, if teachers get too many things, it becomes very difficult to work on these new concepts.
Thank you for the question. At first, it must be really difficult to implement a new technology or new things because we've never experienced most schools never experienced the integration of the subject. So at first, it might increase the work, teachers' work, but at the end, as I mentioned in the presentation, it should reduce the burden on both teachers and the students. The physical number of the amount of work decrease. So I hope that teachers can, if I release this application and then if they use this application, I hope they can get used to this system soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Tsuchiya Mana, and thank you, judges. Wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
ありがとうございました。